Hello and welcome. I'm Coy Wire. This is CNN 10, where I tell you the what, letting you decide what to think. No opinion, no slant, just the news of the day in 10 minutes time. Let's get started with some news about outer space. For the first time, a 4-person crew of private astronauts is set to travel into Earth's radiation belts to conduct the first commercial spacewalk. This is all part of SpaceX's Polaris Dawn mission, a suspense-filled 5-day trek to parts of space no human has gone since NASA's Apollo space program ended in 1972. Now, the mission was delayed after a helium leak was detected on a piece of equipment designed to detach from the rocket during takeoff. It's now scheduled to take off a day after originally planned from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. After takeoff, the 4-person team is expected to travel into an oval-shaped orbit aboard the Crew Dragon spacecraft, high enough to plunge the vehicle and crew into the Van Allen radiation belts. The mission will also aim to reach the highest orbit around Earth for a crewed mission, hoping to surpass the 1966 record set by NASA's Gemini 11. Accomplishing this would make the 2 female crew members the first women to complete this journey. Almost immediately after launch, the crew will begin preparing for a high-risk spacewalk, making use of extravehicular activity, or EVA suits, that SpaceX developed in just 2.5 years. If successful, it would be the first spacewalk conducted by non-government astronauts. The Polaris Dawn mission is part of a series of SpaceX flights aiming to test new technologies that Elon Musk's company hopes will one day see humans live and work on other planets.
It's one thing to fly to space. It's another thing to do a spacewalk. Until now, only NASA or government astronauts have dared to venture out into the vacuum of space. But that is all set to change with SpaceX's Polaris Dawn mission, funded in part by billionaire businessman and philanthropist Jared Isaacman, who first flew to space 3 years ago as commander of SpaceX's Inspiration 4, the first all-civilian mission to orbit.
Jared, some people are going to see the headlines and say, oh, this is just another billionaire going on a joyride to space. But what you are doing is actually quite different.
The connotation is often negative, but in reality, it's just people taking that resources that they're lucky enough to accumulate in life and try and do something positive with it for the benefit of everyone.
SpaceX has these huge objectives, and to get there, there is so much that we need to go and solve. And so Polaris is all about accelerating the technology development.
Technology like the first new American-made extravehicular activity suit, or EVA suit, in more than 40 years. NASA's been trying to get new ones for its astronauts for 2 decades. SpaceX developed this one in just 2.5 years. And now, the entire Polaris Dawn crew will be testing it in space for the first time.
We were all really confident that, some iteration of it is going to be worn by somebody walking on Mars someday, and that just makes it even more of a privilege to be part of it.
While only 2 members of the Polaris Dawn crew will actually leave their Dragon spacecraft, all 4 will be exposed to the vacuum of space when the Dragon opens its hatch.
Space is literally right there as you open the hatch. And
Scott "Kid" Poteet is the mission's pilot, a retired Air Force lieutenant colonel and test pilot.
You've been wanting to go to space your whole life.
You call me old? No. I'm glad I have this crew.
Mission specialist Sarah Gillis is SpaceX's lead astronaut trainer for all astronauts that fly on a Dragon. Final crew member is mission specialist and medical officer Anna Menon, also a SpaceX employee whose life is now in the hands of her coworkers.
These are not just engineers, these are also my friends. So I know the people that are putting us on that rocket and supporting us from the ground, and I have just the utmost trust in every single one of them.
10-second trivia. In which of these geographical locations would you find Australia, Oceania, Siberia, Sub-Sahara, or the Caribbean? Oceania is your answer here. Considered by some countries as a continent, it's the collective name for the islands scattered throughout the Pacific. We're headed down under to Australia now for our next story, where a new law is allowing Aussies to ignore work emails after work hours. It's called the Right to Disconnect Law, and it applies to workers in any company with more than 15 people. The law says that when employees are off the clock, they don't have to monitor, read, or respond to any business-related contact like emails or phone calls. With work-life balance at the top of mind for so many people working at an office, many Australians are embracing this change.
For all of Australia's beauty and relaxed reputation, it might be hard to imagine that many people here feel overworked. But according to some lawmakers, Australians are working an average of 6 weeks unpaid overtime every year. And so the government has stepped in to protect people's right to disconnect. As of Monday, people won't have to answer out-of-hours calls, texts, or emails.
I think it's actually really important that we have laws like this. We spend so much of our time connected to our phones, connected to our emails all day. And I think that it's really hard to switch off as it is.
Around the world, ill-defined job expectations and constant connectivity has allowed our jobs to encroach on our private worlds. The gray areas remain. There may be times the boss still requires an answer, but workers can now defend their right to disconnect in court if they want to.
We are professionals, we're well paid, we're expected to deliver, and we feel we have to deliver 24 hours a day if we have to. So the phone's always on, the computer's always on, and we're working.
Australians likely won't forget work entirely after they leave the office, but more people may feel like they don't have to be always on, meaning more time to enjoy what is already a fortunate place to be.
All right, today is the opening ceremony for the 2024 Paralympic Games, happening in Paris at the same venues we saw on display for the Olympic Games. The athletes, or Paralympians, are grouped together by how much an impairment, like impaired muscle power or vision impairment, can limit their activity in sport. Some 4,000 Paralympians will be aiming for gold, and ahead of these games, I sat down with Team USA's Oksana Masters, one of the most dominant Paralympians the world has ever seen. A 17-time Paralympic medalist, competing in both winter and summer games. She was born in Ukraine with her body damaged from radiation poisoning from the Chernobyl nuclear reactor incident. She was adopted, moved to the USA in 1997, and she's been an inspiration ever since.
Have you ever had a perfect race?
No, I've never had a perfect race. I think a lot of athletes are chasing that perfect race. And, it's not about the gold medal is what makes the perfect race. It's about the whole process where my first initial thought isn't, my gosh, I should have done this. This is what I did wrong. And all the feedback that I have to myself and criticism that I have to myself. So, yeah.
How do you hope your journey and you have inspired others?
I hope that if it's just one girl watching, she can look and she can just I can do this. I belong here. You have to see your dream and you have to see it to actually believe it in yourself.
Love that. How has being an athlete changed your life?
I think the biggest way it changed my life is that was the journey for me to love myself and accept myself and see my body as powerful and strong. It was not an overnight journey. Sports really taught me how it was okay to take my legs off in front of people and to still be powerful and feel powerful. So it was the journey of self-discovery and love.
Our story getting a 10 out of 10 today is one you definitely have to see to believe. A whale watching tour in San Diego spotted a pod of dolphins doing some seriously fun stunts. And it was clear that the porpoises were having a whale of a time, seemingly upping one another while catching some big time air. The video got 9 million views on the company's Instagram. Looks like those folks had an absolutely fantastic tour. All right, we are pumped because today is hashtag Your Words Wednesday. Your word helping to write our show. Now we're changing it up to make it submission day today. So follow me at KoiWire on Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. Put your word and definition in the comments section of my most recent post, and we're going to choose a winner to work into tomorrow's show, along with a shout out to your school. So be sure to put that in there as well. Our shout out today goes to Lisa Academy West Middle School in Little Rock, Arkansas. Rise up. We're halfway through the week, so let's just keep grinding and shining because that's what we do. I'm KoiWire, and we are CNN 10.